So we have to talk about a potentially disappointing situation that recently took place on board a cruise ship involving not one, but two legally blind passengers that, as they say, were kicked off of the cruise ship before the cruise even started. As you can imagine, the passengers are extremely angry, so much so that they are going to the press and the papers, doing all kinds of interviews, and, well, situations like this don't exactly look good on the reputation and PR end for cruise lines. In this video, believe it or not, I'm also going to look at both sides of this situation. Of course, I do have a couple very quick announcements before we sail into today's news. I will be posting my last video of my time on board the Carnival Luminosa for my Alaska cruise up today on my other channel, Jay the Nomad, at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. However, it is already up on my Patreon, which you can subscribe to for as low as $2 a month. You also get access to me because I do not answer emails, Facebook, or Instagram DMs unless it pertains to legitimate business. So I would suggest you guys go check that out. Also, I will have my final review of my time on my Carnival Luminosa cruise over to Alaska today on this channel at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And I gotta say, you should check it out because, well, it was interesting and honestly a little disappointing for a couple of reasons. We recently had two British legally blind passengers by the name of Pam May and Jeannie Bailey that were set to sail on the P&O Ventura cruise ship sailing out of Southampton, UK. However, unfortunately, they would never have the opportunity to take their vacation that they had set because they would be kicked off of the cruise ship before the ship even sailed away.
They'd spent almost a year planning their holiday, but they sensed a problem as soon as they went on board the Ventura, and after being put in a room for over 2 hours, were told they had to leave.
According to the two passengers, upon arriving to the P&O Ventura over in Southampton, they were then placed into a room where they had to stay there for 2 hours. Allegedly, they were not allowed to go to the bathroom, and when it came to conversation with the authorities on board, they were told that they were not allowed to demonstrate the fact that they can safely and securely walk around the cruise ship without any problems or guide. In their words, they were then marched off of the cruise ship, and to them, it was extremely embarrassing, which I do not doubt at all if all of this is actually true, and it went down in the way that they say that it did. The two passengers are also saying that as they were being escorted off, they felt like criminals. And to be clear here, I'm not saying this did or didn't happen, but as you could imagine, accessibility issues such as this are extremely sensitive, and of course this situation is still kind of ongoing and we're seeing how it plays out. I'm just going ahead and putting out to you what has been put in multiple articles by the media. Now, it does get worse according to the passengers. They say that upon arrival back home, they were then charged a cancellation fee of about £900 or $1,100 USD, which was the total cost of their cruise. Now, of course, as expected, P&O did put out a PR-approved statement by their spokesperson stating the usual, that the safety of all their guests is, of course, the priority, which is definitely true. And they also said that they refunded those passengers that had to deal with this situation, this conundrum, a full refund, and also refunded them any other expenses they occurred while on board. Now, just looking at this situation, we don't know if this was before or after the legally blind passengers went to the media, but either way, it's just a situation that I personally think could have been avoided altogether. Here's my take on this issue, my 2 pesos, if you will. I will side with P&O on this one, believe it or not, if and only if this is a situation in which those legally blind passengers just showed up out of the blue, because, well, they can potentially pose a health and safety risk for not only themselves but everybody else on board, because we do not know what they are capable of. We don't know what their limitations are. We don't know if they have the ship mapped out as far as where they are willing to go and cannot go. And I'm not saying somebody that is legally blind is defenseless and they cannot fend for themselves. There has been proof. Plenty of people that are legally blind, I would argue, especially on a cruise ship, are more able-bodied than some of the passengers that even come on board. I think most of you will understand and agree with this. However, if these legally blind passengers did indeed contact their travel agent, and their travel agent contacted the cruise line and gave them all of the details and informing the cruise line that there are legally blind people that are coming on board, because whether you're in a wheelchair, to a degree, you do have to inform the cruise line of this so they are aware of it, of course, and they can make the proper adjustments if needed. The perfect example of a situation that took place similar to this was in November of 2022. Most of you maybe remember, there was a man by the name of Donovan Tildesley. He is an award-winning Canadian legally blind swimmer that decided to go on the adult-only cruise line Virgin Voyages. However, upon arrival, he was just hanging out at the bar having a drink when he was escorted off. Now, the difference between this situation with P&O and the two legally blind blind passengers there versus Donovan Tildesley was that we can confirm that he did have a travel agent that did indeed contact Virgin Voyages to let them know that there was a legally blind but able man going on board their ship. Maybe went over the finer details like where he was going to go, where he wasn't allowed to go, and all those other little giblets, so that he didn't pose a health and safety risk and he was still escorted off. Lo and behold, thankfully, Virgin did try to rectify the situation. I would argue before it was too late because PR was already over it. They then flew him over to the next port of call in which the Virgin ship was going to be at and gave him all kinds of trinkets and delectables. They gave him champagne, and Richard Branson himself even sent him a letter. I would argue was maybe not intentional, but it was in bad taste. They sent him a letter for him to read. The man is legally blind. Maybe Braille, it probably was too short notice to get something done and send it out. But maybe like a voice message probably would have been more advisable in my personal opinion. But nevertheless, you guys get the situation. And the problem with both of these lines here, instead of handling this privately and quickly to ensure that the passengers, first of all, don't go to the media, because we all know, we've seen even during COVID and the pandemic, when media gets involved, especially in cruising and these rare events, whether it be something involving a plane or anything, in rare events, you know the media is going to gas it up and there are going to be a lot of eyeballs, a lot of ears on these situations, and well, it's just not good for the cruise line. Nevertheless, I do believe that when it comes to these situations, the cruise lines, like I said, just should avoid it at all costs and rectify the situation before it gets out to the public. I will end this by saying this. As somebody that has worked at theme parks like SeaWorld and Universal like myself, touring companies like the Harlem Globetrotters in which I was a stage manager, I was in charge of all of the meet and greets, and of course the performances like the angry, vicious dance moms that are very difficult to deal with. You have no idea. We also had to deal with people that had accessibility needs, people that may have been in a wheelchair, a walker, or they were legally blind or deaf, and I had to handle those situations and I had to do so respectfully. It is unfortunate that people such as this do have to give such a notice to these companies so they can enjoy and have the best experience possible, but unfortunately it is what it is and things do need to be done, of course, for the health and safety of everybody involved. Yes, I do believe that these companies do indeed need to be notified, and that way they can make sure everybody is having the greatest experience possible. But of course, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. Of course, be on the lookout for my videos that I have today on my other channel, Jay the Nomad, which I'm almost at 50,000 subscribers there. Make sure you go subscribe to that one. And at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, I have my very, very interesting review of my time on board the Luminosa. Things are going to happen fast. I still have to do a review on the Norwegian Joy that I was on a couple weeks ago. Well, I guess at this point, like 2 months ago. I got to get that one out. Also, just in 1 week's time, I will be boarding Carnival's other new ship, which I'm very excited for, and I know this one's going to be good, the Venezia. So make sure you guys stay locked in. Of course, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and know that I love each and every one of you. I'll see you later. Take it easy.